Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's begin. So today's EOF workshop is studying and note-taking. I'm Mr. Neal or Mr. Witt, whichever you prefer. I'll be the presenter today. So to begin, what is the purpose of taking notes? Does that either of you have any idea, or if the reasons that you believe, or that you actually have for your personal reasons, if it's not listed here, are there any additional reasons that you feel that are effective for note taking, or a reason for note taking? No? Okay. Yeah, well,
to be more organized.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's one that
it's mandatory.
Organizing not only what's discussed, but maybe even if you're that much of that skill, that note taking, you can even be able to help prepare for when you study. Some people are able to break down their notes, so when they go to address it later, they have it all organized and ready to go. It forces you to pay attention to your lecture as well, makes you become an active listener. Always, as Rashid just said, it helps in organizing and processing the data and information, laying it out for when you go to readdress it later. So it's not, unlike myself, I was really bad with note taking, so all my notes were all over my paper and they didn't really have a flow, but we'll discuss certain strategies that can make it flow if you're like myself and didn't really have past habits or even know what to really do for note taking. It improves your work and study habits. Information that is not gained in textbooks is addressed through lecture and through even just like organic conversation with other students. A lot of ideas and in-depth outside information that's not just in the textbooks come up from hearing from other students and their own personal experiences, and those are good things to take notes on as well. And then connections that are made by the lecturer. Sometimes the lecturer will even give their own input. I've had in especially my counseling classes that subject content that wasn't in the actual the criteria or curriculum was addressed, and sometimes it was even on the test. So it's always good to pay attention and try to get those notes in when they're being spoken about in class. And what should I take notes on? The professor's lecture, like I just stated, class discussions, and any assigned readings. Even if you're just to even write down with your notes, if the teacher says, from my experience, this was taken from this chapter or in this reading tonight, just so you can even put what is the next step in reading, just so you understand the flow when you go to study for a big test, especially midterms, you'll be able to connect the dots a lot more smoother. And that's been very effective for me, at least personally. And what to look out for. These are definitely, a lot of these I've seen in the classroom myself, and in other workshops, a lot of students spoke to these, especially when words are repeated. If the professor repeats a word or a person, or I guess even with biology just come out, since Bradley was discussing that, especially with meiosis, mitosis, a lot of cell division, a lot of key concepts. If it's being repeated, you should really take notes on, because it's going to be a big part of your test or even a project. Information written on the board, definitely something I always look out for. Connections, again, made by the lecturer. Repetition, as I just stated. Emphasis, word signals. Review during any point of the lecture, and summaries at the ends of each lecture. It's definitely, even when I got better at this towards of my collegiate career, but a lot of students that I always looked in the class and knew that they were the cream of the cream, or the best in the class, they always seem to be studying before class, reviewing the last class notes, and their notes were always organized. So just from learning from what they did it, that's definitely a really key to how to be successful. Always have those reviews ready, and when you're going into class, just look over, and if you have 2 minutes before the class starts, look over the last previous class's notes, just so you can see where you left off, and also get you refreshed, so the information clicks more within your own head. Any other things to look out for, or from your two experiences? All right, no worries. Note-taking strategies, to be really organized and to be on top of your game. Date and number your pages, especially if they're not connected in some way, or even if you have a binder, sometimes they get ripped apart, just the way it goes, especially if you're moving it. If you have a small desk in the classroom and you move, sometimes it rips the paper. But if you have them numbered, it's a really good, easy way to keep them all organized and your thoughts flowing. Keep notes brief, especially when it's in a fast-paced classroom setting. If the teacher's covering a lot of content, it's definitely try to use abbreviations, sometimes even leaving out vowels in a word, or just abbreviations. Anything, because sometimes I found myself guilty of it. You're trying to keep up with all the notes, even if you're skipping some words, and sometimes you just get so lost in trying to keep that note that the professor already goes two facts ahead, and you miss like important content, and you'll just find yourself in a hole trying to catch up. It's not going to be done overnight. Definitely takes practice, but definitely always try to keep your notes brief. Jot down notes in your own words. Definitely use outline form, numbering systems, or indentations. I'll kind of go over that a little bit with a little of the examples I'll discuss briefly. Keep it short and to the point, and review your notes, ask questions, and study again. It's definitely a process. And like I said, with the really good students in my classes, I noticed they would always be reviewing their notes. And we should also get them pretty much up to date, remembering where they left off, and they would be more primed to ask questions. And like from my experience, I don't know, I can't speak for both of you, but when I'm actually asking questions in the class and I kind of know what's going on, I get so much more out of it. And then compared to the times I go in not reading the reading before class, you're kind of lost. Really, your note taking is not the same. So if you're prepared, your notes are flow a lot better, and they're actually productive notes. It's not like you're playing catch up or just writing everything the professor says. Like, you understand what's going on and you know what you want to get out of that class. Any note taking strategies that either of you have used in the past, or?
I start using Google Docs, voice type.
Oh, okay. So do you use that in the classroom or when you're like studying on your own time?
No, in classroom.
Okay.
Register all what the professor said. It's not taken, not taken, because that register the whole thing. It's like it goes to details, because in this way I can't miss anything. It tapes everything that the teacher said.
And there's no time limit. Like, it can you can have a recording for like 2 hours.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
Okay. And then just to kind of go even more old school with that, I've known students that do with the voice recorders, or even with their phone if the professor allows for it. I mean, I know now it's kind of different with the digital world, but in class, I've known students to ask the professor beforehand, like, do you mind if I have my phone out to record the lecture? And if usually the professor is pretty fine with it. And a lot of people learn that way differently. Like, they call them audio learners, and they just process information a lot better from hearing it than actually seeing it. But we'll definitely discuss the types of learning a little bit towards the end.
What I use is bridge words. So I try to be most consistent as possible. For example, if you're talking about population in the United States, and you give me some or certain information, so I grab age 65, and then I use connection word like or transition words to what's going on with the population, and then I'm breaking down that way. So it is easy for me because I'm more visual.
Do you mean like, from just to understand, Roland, you mean like if they're talking about like 60% of the US population is elderly, we just have like 60% old pop? Is that kind of what you mean, or no?
Just age 65 percentage.
Okay. I don't know.
Obviously, then I have to break it down, but in order for me to process this, it's easier, simple, more graphic than hearing things.
Yeah. So you know how your mind works, and you know how to definitely work towards that. So that's
Definitely.
good. No, I'm jealous. I wish I knew how my mind works. I'm all over the place. All different strategies come work differently for me, but whatever gets us to the finish line, I guess. So with a few popular note-taking methods, there's a lot more, but these are the ones that I've seen like always discussed in a lot of other workshops I did, especially at Kane University. But a few of them, I believe it's the mapping method is what I use, because I'm very all over the place, but just how my brain works, kind of, that seems to be the best note-taking for me, but we'll get into that. But the first we'll discuss is the Cornell method. The Cornell method is you break it down in 3 columns. You have the top 2, which on your left is the Q column, which you would always place your keywords and key questions. And then on the right is going to be the note-taking column, where you pretty much record your key ideas, the important dates of people, diagrams and pictures, formulas, and anything that's repeated. But like I said, the professor really repeats, and that's like what we call stressed information. You'll definitely make sure to put that in the right column as well. So your left is kind of just your like keywords, almost as your go-to, and the right column is pretty much breaking it down in deeper detail. And finally, the last column on the bottom is just your summary, just putting everything that's in that idea or that discussion into your own words. If you do follow the Cornell method, you'll probably find yourself doing this like at least multiple times within a classroom setting, just because not just due to the lack of space, but also how the ideas change. So it's usually like if like four different ideas or theories are covered in a class, usually at this three column or three section column will be good for like each theory, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I lost you too. Did that make sense, or did I kind of confuse you?
No, have sense.
Makes sense.
And then the next one is the outline method. The outline method is I just never was able to do it, just because it gets really messy for me because I'm not able to break subtopics and topics down. Like when I have one main idea, it kind of just sticks. I guess I'll explain that next with the mapping, at least how my brain works. But for those who brain functions more on a normal basis, it can actually break things down. You'll have your main topic, and then you'll break down then the subtopic one. So I guess you'd have like your main topic, just as an example, like the Civil War. Are you too familiar with the Civil War? Make sure it's not a bad metaphor. Okay. So like the subtopic one would be slavery, and break down key points. Like key point one, the Civil War became the main reasoning was due to slavery, and the North and South were divided, as North believed slavery should be illegal, while the South depended on slavery for their livelihood and for their agricultural business. Subtopic two, I guess then you would be, in addition to the Civil War, was actually economic. Key point one was cotton, and the South would be ruined without slavery. And key point two, the North really believed that more free men would be more free people would be more business, more people to tax, which would be more economic. So they're already divided in economics as well. And then you go on the main topic two, then international affairs with the Civil War. Why did the Civil War happen? So basically, just hopefully that was a good metaphor of breaking down how the outline method can be reused and be resourceful. Mapping method. This is kind of what was my best friend, just because I'm all over the place and I draw better than I actually write. So I'm able to break things down. So again, like you would have topics, Civil War, and then you'd have the main idea, the North, and then the other main idea, the South, and you break it down through each supporting idea. So main idea was supporting, or like main idea would be the North, and the supporting idea would be slavery or end of slavery, and then you put your details of why the North believes slavery should end, vice versa with the South or the Confederates. And that's kind of how my mind worked. Also kept me active. I guess I always kind of had undiagnosed ADD, so I always need to be doing something. And this kind of note-taking method really flowed for me. My mind and my hands were always working. And even though I was kind of scattered brain, and this kind of looks kind of like a scattered method compared to the previous two, if you're able to break it down and you kind of understand it, you're just mapping out from one idea and how it connects to the other. And your mind's working as well as your hands. And when you look at it later, it's not a chaotic mess as everything's kind of mapped out and organized. So this would always, at least me personally, this was the best of all the note-taking methods that worked for me and my type of learning and my scattered brain organization in my head. Charting method, kind of like the outlining, basically just almost lined up differently. You break down the three topics. Well, first you'll put your main topic, and then you'll break down the main topic into three subtopics. And with each topic below, you'll list the details that support that topic. Science method, or sorry, sentence method, the main topic. And then you basically just be able to, I would get lost in this because I'm very slow at writing, and I'm just not good at really skipping words or which one's the word to leave out. But if you're really good at this, maybe this would kind of work with what Braulio was saying, is how he's able to break things down his head. But you'll have the main topic, and then you'll have the one sentence covering the details, all in that one brief sentence. But they might not make sense to someone else that reads it, but as long as it makes sense to you and you have your key words that form that sentence and that idea, it could be effective. And if this works, then definitely use this method. And then you just could have I've seen even some people that have used this had up to like 10 sentences covering that topic, but their handwriting was neat. It was organized. They were really efficient at being able to write quickly. So it worked for them. Me, not so much. And how do I keep up? So like I was saying, one thing that I always struggled with was keeping up with the note-taking going on in class, especially with the professor, and also with there's other side conversations going on when students what they would be saying would be beneficial to what we're learning, but it would maybe not be in line with what the professor has outlined. So that would kind of throw me off. So certain tips that would work is become an active listener. Just always just sometimes you have to remove yourself from taking notes and just listen, see what people are saying. And then maybe when you're after you get the more of the gist of the idea, instead of all the words that are being like filled into that idea, you'll be able to write it down and just be understand, like pay more attention to the actual thoughts and theories rather than the words being said, if that makes sense. Something to refer to for assignments, papers, and assessments. I know the notes aren't, like I said, they are important, but it's also an outline. So if you can break it down and just have references, just kind of how Braulio was saying, he was able to break certain things down with certain keywords. As long as you have that mapped out and know exactly when you go back to study that, oh, well, maybe I don't have the exact idea that was said in this lecture. I know where this was taken from in the book. I could reline this with the text, and I had kind of mapped out my studying and what was discussed. Information, again, that's not gained in textbooks. It could be vice versa then. There's side notes of being able to take down of things that were discussed in that class. Sometimes I've known in classes there's like great ideas and like theories that are covered, but in the textbook it's pretty much discussed in like 2 sentences. But then when you go to take the test, it's covered basically with what the professor says. So, if with that being said, if you sometimes miss the notes, usually this day and age, professors go by a PowerPoint either before or after class. If you can ask for the professor to send you that PowerPoint as well, that's always really key. And usually they're always pretty open about it. There might be a few that are a little sensitive about the information, and they'll just ask you to keep it between you and not share it with other classes. But generally, teachers are pretty outward with their resources and PowerPoints such as that. And then always having those PowerPoints, especially, you can make the connections that are discussed in class. It's definitely a lot more efficient and beneficial. But also, I can't speak for you two as well, but from my experience, I wouldn't rely solely on their PowerPoints, because that's also kind of removes you from the class. When you're actually trying to keep up and take your notes and interact, you get a lot more from the class and actually out more reward from the actual lecture itself. And then compare notes with classmates. I know it's a little difficult now with the online platform, but if when we get back to normality and you two decide to go back into the in-person classroom setting and you get there early or even after classes, always compare with notes, because there might be something you miss, or there might be a new strategy that you didn't think of that is very efficient for that type of class. I know Rashid in our last my last workshop I did with note taking asked about, do different note taking strategies work for different subjects? And yeah, definitely they do, especially when it comes to math, or even when like history and science. For me, some people get science, I don't have to work a little bit harder, but history I always got. So I can use like a lot more relaxed note taking for history. But when it came to like science, like biology or organic chemistry, like I would have to be very specific, because if not, I would definitely just get lost, and that would just make it harder on myself when it came time to study, because I would have no notes to go to. I wouldn't have nothing mapped out. I would just basically have to cram and read and try to do it the hard way. I was lucky where I got by with that, but if you can make it not, or if you have a method that can make it easier on yourself, why not use it? Should I type or handwrite my notes? And then either of you two gentlemen, do you either of you type it, or do you handwrite, or do you just kind of interchange?
Old fashioned.
Me too, old-fashioned, handwritten.
Yeah, no, same here. I don't know. The typing just I get distracted if I type, because then that means you have access to other things, and yeah, it's just I'm old school as well.
Yeah.
Benefits of typing: you are faster. Typing will allow you to copy down more of what your professor says. It's easy to reformat, hold on, a lot easier to lose. I mean, unless you break your computer. But nowadays, how everything's on Google, like Google Chrome, or not Google Chrome. I'm sorry. What's it? Google Docs. There we go. Everything's like accessible, or even in the cloud. So even if you break your computer, it's still accessible from another device or in another account. You can reformat as a study guide. It's easy to locate and keep track of, and it's easily able to be compared with other classmates, because you can just upload it and share it with each other. You don't actually need that one-on-one interaction. And but I'll also say the downside for me is you're easily able to get distracted. Sometimes when you're typing, you get more lost in just actual the typing aspect and actually interacting. You're almost like, for me at least, I get like removed from that personal, or I guess you could say that human aspect. I feel like when I'm writing, I don't know why, for me, it makes me interact more. Just trying to like make keywords, trying to see what other people are saying. I'll even like draw pictures to kind of just get the idea. just makes me more, me personally, I just feel more interactive in what's the discussion going on if I'm writing, because it's just not just a plain like format where you're just typing it out. When you're handwriting, you like we do keywords like Braulio said, or for me, I draw pictures and do mapping. It just gets me more integrated within the class. Either of you find different benefits for writing compared to typing, or it's kind of the same thing? It's just something you just rather you prefer writing.
We just get to used to it before, because we in the past our brain works with our hands, so it's there's a flow between head and hand.
If it's not broken, why fix it?
For me, because it is easy in order to get the information, So at the time I write it down and go back over my notes, I will be able to understand and remember what's going on in class at the time I take the notes.
No, that's true. That connection, and then also even for me, the way I would write things, how I would place it on the paper would also would help for me as well. Like if I would put it higher on the corner, if it was more important, and have it kind of flow. When you're typing, it's sometimes hard to do that and to like organize it in like a column or certain, I guess you'd say, a layout. It's possible with typing, but it's a lot easier if you're handwriting it. And those connections from when you did that, when you drew that picture or you mapped it a certain way, that kind of like how Brian just said, you kind of connect. Benefits of handwriting, just to follow up, more likely to commit things to long-term memory, just because you have that connection in your mind, and you don't have to carry a laptop or charger in class. Definitely, you have a pen and paper. It's very easy, or usually someone else always has a pen and paper. Very and much more easily accessible. And losing one is usually more easily replaceable than an actual charger or an entire laptop. And then next steps, what do I do with my notes? So now that we discussed ways of that certain strategies work for each of us and certain methods work better with our style of learning, how do we actually bring it all together? So star information, like I was saying before, I put like a big star if something's very important next to it, or I put some kind of other symbol just to remind me that this is where it all starts. And even when I'm reviewing my notes, that there's something about this keynote or keyword is very paramount. So that asterisk or that star next to it makes me remember that. Put question marks, especially if you're quick, a lot of information is coming at you, just so you know that address it later and there might be something you're missing. Just as a reminder, just put a question mark, which will give you that idea that you have to dig a little bit deeper when you're reviewing your notes. Underline or highlight the most important parts of each section. I'm not sure if either of you use like color coding or do have a highlighter with you to use that. I've never been a fan of that, but some people are able to use that and it really has worked well for them. And then again, comparing notes with classmates just to ensure that you didn't miss anything, or you might just be opened up to a whole new world or style that you didn't think was even relevant. And maybe just like I was saying before, like one style might work well for a certain class and another classmate picked up on that and they'll be willing to share that with you. And there you go. You got a whole new strategy that you can use. And why should I review my notes? Importance of reviewing your notes. We lose 80% of what we hear if it is not reviewed within a few hours. So having that go-to of just whether it's through the mental connection of remembering or just actually just having it mapped out. Sometimes you totally forgot, and just seeing those words, it just triggers something in your mind that you're able to remember that actually being discussed in class in that actual lecture. It identifies and addresses any questions for next class. That's really the importance of when you start your next class. If you have the time to review for the previous notes, because there'll be information there that especially if you see like how you had question marks, you'll remember to ask that question to start the class, and maybe that'll springboard into the discussion. Everything will flow a lot better. And also, there is never enough time to absorb all the information given in a lecture if it's not reviewed on a regular basis. So I know a lot of us have different responsibilities, whether it's working full time, family. So some of us may have more time than others, but anytime you have and you're able to use it to review the information and keep practicing, repetition is always key. It can get tiresome at times, but when you keep doing it over and over, when it comes time for midterms and finals, you'll definitely thank yourself for all that time that you put in. And is there a correct way to study? So visual learners can draw charts or pictures and or write information down. Writing also works for kinesthetic learners. I guess I'm kind of a visual learner I guess if you have to map it out, or tactile. But kinesthetic learners may want to move around the room as they read the material aloud. I mean, I guess, yeah, for me personally, I guess all of these kind of work. Tactile learners, you may want to work with index cards and manipulate objects. And auditory learners can absorb information by hearing the material. They can read the material into a tape and play it in the car or discuss the information with another person. As well as if the professor allows you to record, you can always play that recording while you're driving as well, or even when you're reviewing your notes at a later time. And sometimes if you're coinciding your notes with what the professor's saying, that can be very effective as well. A lot of it, like I said, depends on what kind of learner you are. Do either of you two know which kind of learner or learning style fits you, or you're like myself, where like you kind of take an aspect from each of the 4 learning styles? If you don't want to share, it's fine. Study tips: avoid marathon studying. Definitely, I mean, as I've done it, it works to an extent, but when you're trying to like cram everything, which is basically what a marathon studying is, you can definitely just burn yourself out and lose a lot of valuable information. And when it comes time to take a test, you'll see that a lot of things may click because you just reviewed it the night before, but then other things not so much, because you'll remember reading it, but you won't remember actually what the key points were. So the marathon strategy has its pluses, but also I think also it gets outweighed by its negatives. Try to schedule breaks. If you can do a timer, I discussed it in my time management strategy. They call it a Pandora or a Pandora technique, where you have a timer, even if it's in your phone or an old-fashioned egg timer, and you put 20, let's say 25 minutes in due to studying or writing a paper. And as soon as that timer goes off, you just stop and then take a 5 or 10 minute break. And then once that 5 to 10 minute break's over, then you start studying again. And then each time you complete that cycle 4 times, then you increase the break time. So then next time will be a 20 minute break. So it just keeps giving yourself just that mapping out where you don't burn yourself out, but you also make sure that you're giving yourself the healthy break, the mental self-care. And the more you go on into the night, the less you're going to be able to retain. So that's why the idea of making the breaks longer is beneficial, but everyone's different. But that has been a method that has been studied and has been proven to be effective. Follow a challenging subject with a subject that is less challenging for you. That has worked for me as well, especially when it's like biology or math compared to history. Definitely, I would always save that history to the end, because that was just something. It's like reading a story to me. It was a little bit of enjoy. It was half enjoyable, half easy. So I would always save that to the end. While the science or math, I would have to spend 3 hours on, and then the last hour I would do the history. Just that's how it worked for me. And using mnemonics, which is letters that trigger memories and put them in a long sentence. So this also has been very good for me as well. But here's an example: is my very exceptional mother just served up 9 pizzas. So that's just a very quick way to just say, or an example, just how to remember the planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Also acronyms, especially for, I don't know, just since it's easy, like the 5 senses, just like sight, smell, hearing, just to use like ESIMA. If do you both know what acronyms are? Okay, that's been very effective for me. Eat well and sleep well. Definitely, that's a great practice, especially when you're not doing marathon studying. When you eat well and you sleep well, your mind's firing on all cylinders. You're not exhausted, and you're just that less irritated. So you're able to do longer stints of time and absorb more information, and find a good place. I think now that the pandemic is kind of, I want to say coming to an end fully, but definitely not at the peak as it was. And when it was at its peak, I know that was a lot more harder for families, especially with everyone being confined at home, not working, not going to school. So finding that place was a little bit more difficult. But I've heard of stairwells, parks, even in your own car, as long as it's not in the dead of winter and you don't have heat in your car, or vice versa, in the dead of summer and you don't have air conditioner. Those can be bad places, but take out those factors, they can be peaceful. Avoid and reduce distractors. These places you picked should hopefully not have, or should at least have a great reduced number of distractors. External distractors can be anything from uncomfortable chairs, an improper study surface, such as being cluttered, or a table that's too low for where you sit. Even it seems simple, but something like that could throw you off, especially when you're leaning over. You can get neck pains. Anything from noise, poor lighting, uncomfortable room temperature, TV. I don't know. I've never been able to do that. Some people can study with a TV, but that's just never worked for me. Conversations of others, telephone, friends. If you can, and you're not expecting an emergency, definitely always try to put your phone somewhere, because that could just be a whole connection and open up just so much procrastination that you'll never get anything done. Internal distractors are lack of sleep, poor diet, lack of exercise, being sick, a physical injury, relationship problems, tension with family or friends, stress, performance anxiety. That's why we always, at least especially I know at EOF, we always try to really preach self-care. I know Miss Tejal is a really huge advocate of self-care. Even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes a day, just something you enjoy, or just something that removes you, sorry, from just a daily grind. It just gives you that mental break, because it's 5 or 10 minutes may not seem like a lot, but it definitely has, just any break in the ongoing stress of your day could be very, very therapeutic. And then just your overall maintenance, exercise again, like I said, self-care, stress list. I know sometimes, especially in this day and age, it's so easy to get overwhelmed that we don't even realize what's stressing us out. So being able to, if you have the spare time, to kind of list out your stress list of the week, like things that you know will probably cause you stress that week or are currently causing you stress, writing it down and then actually seeing it in person kind of makes it put everything in a perspective. And maybe you'll be even fortunate enough where you can kind of cross some of the stress lists or stresses off your list, or at least minimize them, and which can overall in the long haul really be just therapeutic and beneficial to studying and just life in general. And then reading and studying. It's basically, this is a quick method I looked up. It's called the SQR3. Stands for survey, question, read, recite, and review. It's a proven technique to sharpen your textbook skills. In school, you'll be frequently asked or be assigned multiple chapters and for multiple subjects in books that can be complicated. The SQR3 method just kind of helps make it reading more purposeful and meaningful, so that you use your time most effectively. And then here's how the strategy works. And for it to work, you should definitely be an active a reader, not passive. And by active means like when you see certain material, take that next step to understand why you're reading it or what the meaning is to the overall subject. Just taking that extra step could just be that much beneficial to you when it comes time to take the test and for your overall grade. So the survey part of SQR3, the S is get an idea of what the chapter is about by reviewing the highlights. Kind of just if you overview the chapter, even that includes looking at like the questions at the end of each chapter or each section, just to kind of give yourself an idea of what you should be looking for, or what the most important, I guess, topics within that unit or chapter are going to be focused on. Read the titles, headings, and subheadings. Take note of words that are italicized or bold. Look at charts, graphs, pictures, maps, or other visual material. Read captions and read the very beginning and end of chapter. So surveying in essence is basically just like glazing over or just getting an overall idea by looking at the key concepts, the graphs, captions, and just the beginning of the chapter and the end of it. Just getting that, like we call it the sandwich. You get the idea of what the two pieces of bread are, just the main core of it, and then everything else. Once you understand that, everything else will hopefully flow. So just getting a general idea is basically what surveying is. Q for question is, as you survey the text, this is the part of the active reading. While you're going through it and glossing over the chapter, start asking questions for each sections, like, why am I doing this? Or how is this important to what's going on? Or what will this lead to? When, who, and where questions as they relate to the content. Here's how you can create the questions if you're struggling. Turn to the title, headings, or subheadings. Always turn them into questions like, again, I know it might be boring or I might have killed at this point, but the Civil War is like the slavery. Why was slavery important? Or the South were farmers. Why were the South farmers? Or why was farming important in the South? Just being able to change anything to question to give yourself that basically that idea of why you should dig deeper. And even maybe when you turn into questions, they'll be that more memorable when you actually go to study or when you take a test, you'll remember asking yourself the question and the information and answers you found out to answer that question. Rewrite the questions at the end of the chapter, and especially after each subheading in your own words. Just kind of gives you that ownership, and just repeating and writing it out can definitely just kind of burn that into your brain and again, make it your own. Always write down your questions just so you remember them and can reference them later. Questions help you pay attention. Also kind of gives you a purpose when you ask, like when you turn a chapter heading into a question, it gives you more of a mission of trying to solve that question. And it helps you just understand the text better and also recall information more easily later on. R, the first R is read. Read one section of a chapter at a time, actively looking for an answer to your question in that section. Pay attention to bold and italicized text that authors use to make important points. Be sure to review everything in that section, including tables, graphs, and illustrations, as these features can communicate an idea more powerfully than written text. So even though you reviewed the charts and let's say the pie graphs before in the survey section of this method, when you go back to read it, making those connections again is definitely effective. Recite. This is also very beneficial to me personally. At the end of each section, look from the text and in your own words, recite the answers to your question for that section, then write down your answer. Be sure to provide examples to support it. So again, just learning through repetition, just by, even though you know the answer, just reciting it out loud and then writing it down and let it go, let alone just putting just, even if it's keywords, just reasons that are supporting that statement. Repeat the question, read and recite the steps for each section of that chapter or assigned readings. First, ask a question for the next section, then read to find that answer, and then finally recite the answer in your own words and jot it down. Then write the questions and answers that will help you study in the future. So as you see, the S, the Q, and then the prior two R's, it's all just it all intertwines and all feeds off the previous step. And lastly is the review. So after you did these methods of overviewing, questioning, reading, and then reciting and making everything your own, it's just a part of, now it's all set. It's just reviewing that when it comes time to actually right before the test. So after completing each chapter or reading assignment, review your notes, identify the main points of that section by looking for the most important ideas in that section, recite again, or write a brief summary of the chapter assignment that you just reviewed to be that much more efficient if you do have that time and that organization, because sometimes depending on what you're studying off of or how you're writing notes, you might not have the room, but if you are that organized and you can actually do one more last brief summary of the studying section that you did, then that can be just one more extra step that could be beneficial to you. Review your study notes each week to help you remember the information. Again, before each class and even after class, if you have the time, definitely that can't hurt. And when it's time to study for your tests, you'll find that you've created an invaluable guide. It might have taken a lot of certain time and maybe taken an extra 5 or 10 minutes when you're studying, but having this to go back to later, especially when it all comes full circle in the finals and midterms, it's definitely, you'll thank yourself for putting in that little bit of extra time throughout the semester. So any questions? I know I threw a lot at you.
No, it's
Sorry,
okay.
Brian.
It's okay. I think this work both for art subject and science subject. It works both. So it's like you have to put your hands on paste and do it again and again. And as much as you do it, as much as you are maybe in it, you get better by over time.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Rashid. Were you gonna say something, Braulio? If not, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No. I take a lot of notes, so I believe I will implement some of the whatever you told me right now.
I hope at least one thing was beneficial.
Two of them, yeah, basically. The first one was the student tips to avoid the marathon, because I'm the kind of person like I try to push me until the end. And the other one was do not try to be a fast typer. Basically, to stop, slow down, and listen the comments from somebody else. Maybe I can take advantage of this too.
I'm glad to hear it. And then, was there any strategies in here that weren't covered that you two can speak to or think is beneficial to add?
I never using the mapping method. I would try to see how the things work for me.
It's not for everyone. Like I said, I'm one of the few rare people that I know that have used it, and actually it's been beneficial. But I'm a very clutter and scatterbrained person. So just being able to take that clutter and kind of make it an organized clutter has been beneficial for me.
We'll see. I will let you know.
All right, I look forward to it. And if any of you gentlemen would need or would like for me to send the PowerPoint, just put your email in the chat, and I'll make sure to definitely include or send you the PowerPoint as soon as we're done. And also, this will be posted on the YouTube channel as well if you ever need to access this or any of the other workshops that you weren't able to attend, or maybe you did attend and forgot something that was very key that you want to readdress. Not just my workshops, but the career workshops as well will be on there as well.
Can you post the link for that YouTube channel?
I'm sorry?
Can you post the link for YouTube channel?
Yeah, if you don't mind, give me 1 minute.
Okay.
EOF.
Neil, if you don't mind me asking, are you teaching a subject in Hudson? Do you teach?
No, not right now. There was possibly something towards the summer, but that's still in the early works. But right now, no, it's just the workshops, and then with my other full-time job, my other part-time job. It's just I would love to teach, but right now, it's just
Okay, hope so. Maybe soon.
yeah, no, I definitely would like to, but it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to find teaching down here, at least teaching positions in Florida than it is in New Jersey. I found out, so I definitely got to start applying. But I just put the YouTube link into the chat. I'll also send that. I'll put that in the email as well.
Okay, yes, sounds good.
And do either of you gentlemen need the EOF workshop completion link as well, or do you already both have that link for the form?
Yeah, I have the form. Yeah, I have the link for the form. Yeah.
Okay, just checking. And
Yeah.
is there anything I can do in terms of support for the rest of the semester, or? I mean, I know you're on honors, so I think you'll be fine. But if there is anything I can do to help you,
It's okay. Thank you, Neil. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And again, my apologies about the about your scholarship papers.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I hope it takes.
You should. If you don't mind me, sorry, Bradley, I don't mean to make you an outsider in this conversation. But if you don't mind me asking, Rashid, who ended up helping you revise your papers?
It's okay.
Nobody.
Oh, you just did? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm so sorry. I got just doing the move and like everything. I just got so sidetracked. As soon as I got down here, I was just catching up with everything.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. It's okay. No problem. Don't be sorry about that.
Not an excuse, but I'm sorry. I thought I still had enough time, but you're one of those people who like to do things ahead of schedule and not wait till the last minute. So
Yes.
by the time I got to you, you're done. So my apologies.
Yeah. You have to do it before time.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, thank you very much, Neil. Thank you, Braulio.
Yeah, thank you both for.
Nice to meet you, Rashid, right?
Yeah, Rashid.
Rashid.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Fabian.
Fabian, I believe is Shukran.
Shukran. Yeah, shukran. Your name sounds Italian.
I'm a Spaniard from North Africa.
Oh, wow.
From North Africa?
Yes, my family is Sephardi from Ceuta.
Me, I'm Morocco. I'm from Morocco. Where?
Your accent is familiar for me. Vous parlez français?
Yeah, bien sûr. Yeah, of course.
Ne pas problème.
Okay. It's
our countries have some border are limitrophes. So Spain have a part of north of Morocco, three different communities. It's Ceuta, Melilla, and the Perejil. It's a small island that I have over there. So my family is Jewish descendants, so have root over there. And his country and my country have a lot of similarities and history relation to.
Yeah,
cool.
Of course. Between Spain and Morocco, yeah. Between Spain and Morocco,
yes.
You heard that, Snail?
I'm sorry?
You heard that? What just happened?
Yeah, no, I heard that.
Okay.
No, I appreciate it. No, but how long ago did you both come to America or to the United States?
Me, just almost 3 years.
I moved over here in 2012.
Okay, so about 9 years.
9 years. Yeah.
Cool.
For me, just 3.
Have either of you gone back home, or at least to your country of origin?
My mom is American and my dad is no longer here. So now I got part of my roots in US.
Fair enough. Do you have any is all your family over here now?
Part of my family is still in Spain.
Okay.
Another part of my family is in Norway.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. No, for me, in my case, all my family is in Morocco.
I really love the farina.
Are there beaches there?
Oh, beautiful Casablanca.
Yeah.
I have to
Oh,
go there.
Yeah, yes. Morocco is a beautiful country. Yes, Casablanca, Marrakesh. I'm from Agadir, in the middle south.
I have a good friend from Agadir. Her name is the last name is Tarkati.
Al-Khati?
Tarkati family, yes. Her name is Rashida.
It's like me, Rashid and Rashida.
Like you, for that reason I pronounce well. I know it's come from the same roots.
Yes, we have that name a lot. We have Mohammed and Rashid. A lot of these names in Morocco.
Ito,